Hello everyone and welcome to my plant show and tell. I am currently obsessed with plants. The obsession has waned a little bit in the past month or so as I've settled into my routine of caring for plants. I'm still very excited though about my collection, even though they are beginner plants, very easy to take care of. That's probably why I'm excited about them. There's actually a chance that I may still have all of these plants next year. I have around 20 to 30 plants now. I'm not going to talk too much about the plants themselves. Here and there I might insert a little snippet of what I think of the plants so far, how easy it is for me to take care of. I am a total newbie and I've not had much luck with plants in the past, but I've been trying to learn by reading tons of books and blogs and just Googling stuff, and also keeping little notes on each plant on my website. So I'll link that down below in case you want to have a look at the full collection, because this video might be very long. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go in roughly chronological order, but I'm gonna group all of the plants that I have in one category together. So that just basically means that I'm gonna start with the first plant that I added to my collection, and that is this guy, a spider plant. This is a special spider plant because it is all green. There is no variegation in the leaves. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you all of my spider plants in this one segment, and then I'm going to move on to the next plant that I added to my collection and all of the plants in that category, and so on and so forth. So these two are plants that I got on January 30th, 2019. One of my girlfriends invited me to a free self-care workshop with Darryl Cheng. If you follow any plant accounts on Instagram, you may be following his. He's an engineer who has a very avid plant hobby, and he also runs a very popular Instagram account, which I will link down below. These two plants were from his workshop over a year ago, almost 2 years ago now, and they survived. Spider plants are very easy to take care of, I do know this, but I'm still surprised they survived. They've gone through a lot though. They've gone through bouts of me forgetting to water them. That was mostly the case. And then when I started being more interested in plants, I overwatered them. They were also very pot bound. I hadn't repotted them since I got them. They were little tiny babies when I got them, and now they are quite full. I love these two plants so much. I know spider plants for some are very boring plants, but I just really love these two. Because these were so pot bound and I overwatered them, they weren't doing very well at all. I have all the photos on my website to show that, and I ended up pruning them back quite a bit, but they've bounced back very nicely. Even though I got these two plants on the same day, they still have different shapes and personalities. This plant in particular had a little spiderette come out, probably because it was so pot bound. So I went ahead and propagated that back in, I think it was June, I propagated it. And it is doing very well in this little pot. So this is the offspring of this guy. As I'm talking to you guys, I just noticed that there's some growth here that's looking very interesting. I'm wondering if another baby is going to come out. I very much hope so. On the stem of this particular baby, there was also kind of like another little growth that was coming out. So I went ahead and I tried to propagate that, and it is doing quite well as well. So when I propagated this, it was originally 3 leaves, but one of them I had to clip off because it was dying. These 2 smaller leaves on the side here are the ones that I started this plant off with, and now there are 3 more much longer leaves. Those are all the spider plants in that color family. I also have these 2 baby spider plants. These are your more typical spider plants. They're variegated. They're not growing that quickly, but they were in pretty rough condition when I first got them. When I first got these little guys, they were very curled up, the leaves, and just like very sad looking. But now they seem to be a little more perky, and the leaves seem to be straightening. So I'm quite happy with these two as well. So that is my entire collection of spider plants. Next up, I want to talk about this little guy. This is a mini orchid. My friend got me this for my birthday back in 2019, so I got this in May of 2019, and it had beautiful blooms when I first got it. I think it had like 2 stems of many blooms, but they of course all fell off, and it hasn't bloomed again since. There have been new leaves that have come out though, and also this really lovely aerial root. There are a few little boo-boos on a couple of the lower leaves because I ended up dropping this plant one day, unfortunately. But otherwise it seems to be growing reasonably well. This is my only orchid that I have now, but I have had orchids in the past and I've never been able to get them to rebloom. And I think the leaves are beautiful. I love the shade of green, so I'm happy to keep this plant and continue to take care of it. Next up, I want to talk about this beautiful plant. I also received this for my birthday, but this year, so I got this in May of 2020. My friend who's very much into gardening, she got me this because she knows my history with plants, and she said that these are very good at surviving low light homes. You can forget to water them for some time and they'll still survive because of their thick leaves. This is a very low maintenance plant and I am in love with the colors, the way it looks, just everything about it. It's a very different shape from the other plants that I have, which is why I love it so much. It really stands out. This plant is supposed to grow quite slowly, but I do see quite a bit of new growth, especially in this area here. There are 4 baby leaves that are starting to push up, so I'm hoping that I'm doing a decent job at taking care of it. This is a snake plant that I just purchased. This is actually the newest plant to my collection, and because I already have a snake plant and I know it's so low maintenance, I decided to go ahead and pick this up. There's one main plant in the center here, that's the biggest one, and then there are 2 little plants on the side that I may look at splitting off maybe next year in the spring when I repot it. There are a lot of different varieties of snake plants, and these 2, as you can tell, are pretty different in terms of the coloring and even the thickness of the leaves and the texture on the leaves. Both very beautiful plants and I'm so happy to have them. I can see myself adding a few more snake plants to my collection down the road. The next plants I want to talk about are AGLAONEMAs. They are just stunning, full, luscious, tropical plants. This is the first plant that my husband and I purchased when I started obsessing about plants and really getting into indoor gardening as a hobby. It is doing pretty well, as you can see. It is very full and it's grown quite a bit since we got it. We got this plant in early July and I'm recording this in early September. That being said, I do have some leaves down at the bottom that are starting to droop. These are the first leaves that aren't doing so well since I got the plant, and I think it's because the light is changing because we're now into September. I probably should have filmed this video 1 to 2 weeks ago when the plants were in like their heyday. They were so happy and growing so quickly, but it seems like as soon as September hit, the plants noticed the change in the light and now we're starting to get some yellowing leaves. So I've got about 3 leaves that are starting to yellow at the bottom, so I'm just gonna let them continue to yellow, and then when the time comes I will either pull them off or I'll snip them depending on how easily they want to detach from the stem. But there's lots of beautiful new growth at the top here. I see 3 new leaves coming out, so I'm totally okay with losing a few of the bottom leaves. This plant did have scale when we got it. I didn't know what to look for at the time, but the scale was very easy to get rid of. There were only a few on some of the leaves along the vein, so I went ahead and I just picked them off, and the plant has been scale free ever since. I think this variety is called Stripes, but there are quite a few that have this sort of leaf, so I'm not 100% sure because again, this was my first plant. I didn't really take a photo of the tray that it came in that had the label on it as to what it was exactly. I love this AGLAONEMA so much that I picked up another one. This one is smaller, but it is no less gorgeous. It is a stunning, stunning plant with the pink stems and the delicate pink and green markings on the leaves. Very, very beautiful plant. This is called the Sparkling Sarah. This one hasn't lost any leaves yet, and it does start to droop a bit when it needs water. So I try to water it before it gets to the point of drooping. But because it's in a clay pot, I have to water it a little bit more frequently. This gorgeous plant is a ZZ plant and it is so stunning in real life. I had seen a lot of photos of this plant before I bought this one, and I had read a lot about how easy they are to take care of, but they didn't really appeal to me in the pictures. until I saw it in person. In person, the leaves are so shiny and beautiful, and naturally so. My husband commented that it looks like a fake plant, and I definitely agree. This one though is truly alive and well. When I first got it, there was a little stem peeking out from the potting mix, and it went ahead and grew into this beautiful long stem of leaves. So this was just coming out of the potting mix when I got it, and it is so beautiful. I love this plant so much, and I can also see myself perhaps adding to my ZZ plant collection down the road because they are just so easy to take care of. Being a plant newbie, this is probably my favorite type of plant to own and care for because it is just so easy and very rewarding as well because they grow so fast. This is a pothos. I've also heard it pronounced pothos, so I'm not sure of the exact pronunciation, but regardless, it is a stunning plant. I love this plant. This one in particular is a jade pothos, so it doesn't have any of the variegation in the leaves. It is just this beautiful green color. This one was my first one, and it did have mealybugs, but I think I have gotten rid of them all. I'm pretty sure it is close to mealybug free, if not mealybug free. I still check it from time to time though because I'm worried they'll start to pop up again. But it's such a beautiful full plant. This trailing vine is new, and again, it's just so rewarding because there is tons of new growth. My second pothos is this one here. So stunning. This is a neon pothos, and I've already gone ahead and trimmed off a couple of these long trailing vines, but there are still lots remaining. This one in particular has grown so much since I got it. I think it was only to here when I got it, and now it's grown a whole bunch of new leaves. I went ahead and trimmed off a few of the trailing vines because I wanted to try propagating, and I did go ahead and propagate this one. It's grown a little bit, and I had to remove some of the leaves because they weren't rooting, but the rest I believe are rooting, and there will be hopefully more new growth. There's only been one new leaf that has come out, but I'm keeping my fingers crossed for this one. This parent plant, however, is just doing so well. It is incredibly full and beautiful. This here is a marble queen, and it started out as 2 plants, but I combined them into one. It has beautiful variegation in the leaves, shades of green, cream, and ivory. It's just a beautiful, stunning plant. In addition to the marble queen pothos that I just showed you, I also have this one, which is another marble queen. This one is extra special to me because my husband got this for me as a little surprise right before our 11th wedding anniversary. He had a different plant in mind when he bought this one, but they didn't have the one he asked for, so he went ahead and bought this. I was gonna combine all of the marble queen pothos together, but I think I will keep this one separate because it's so near and dear to me. It's been growing very well. I have around 3 points of new growth on this little guy. It's in its nursery pot still, but it's like the perfect fit for this larger pot. This little plant here is, of course, a PILEA, and it is just the cutest, most whimsical plant. I'm hoping one day it will give me a little baby PILEA plant that I can propagate, but for now it is just the mother plant, which I am still very happy with. The leaves, when they start to droop, turn yellow, and develop black spots, that's when you know it's time to snip them off. This one here is probably gonna go in the next few days, but there's lots of new growth happening in the center here, and I just love this plant. This here is my peace lily. It was doing so well up until this week. When I first got this plant, it was all foliage. I purposely picked a plant that was all foliage, and then it started to bloom, and I was so excited. There were so many blooms on this plant. I think I counted 9 at one point. Big blooms like these ones and also little blooms. But I think I probably should have snipped some of them off because when the light started to change, a lot of the leaves started drooping, and I've actually had to prune away a significant portion of this plant. I mean, it's still relatively full, so hopefully it will be okay. This here is an English ivy, and it's my only hanging basket right now, although I do plan to hang some of our other plants. I have been obsessed with ivy since I was a little girl. I love the look of ivy covered buildings. I also love plants that grow really quickly because, as I mentioned, I am new to this and I really need the positive reinforcement. I've read a bit lately though about how English ivies don't grow that well indoors. They are very prone to spider mites, and they also tend to get thin at the top here. I haven't really had any issues with either of those things yet, but I am a little bit worried about this one. So I do baby this one quite a bit, which is interesting because English ivies are supposed to be very hardy and hands-off, I guess. Maybe when they're grown outside at least. So while I do still really love this plant, I am a touch worried about it and whether it's gonna survive the winter. But I'll do my best and we'll see how it goes. The English ivy is fun because it grows so quickly and it's actually good to keep it nicely pruned. So when I've been pruning this plant, I've been putting the little cuttings into containers such as this. This is my only one right now, and it's actually not doing that great. The leaves on this side here are rather droopy and sad, but this side seems to be doing well. So maybe this cutting rooted, whereas the others didn't. I won't always pop these in soil. I think it'd be nice to put the cuttings in a little glass bottle or whatnot. It's almost like having fresh cut flowers, but instead of having blooms, you have foliage, which I feel are equally beautiful. So that's one plus of having such a giant ivy and fast growing ivy, is that I can prune it, which is good for the plant itself, and I have all of these little cuttings to use as decor in other parts of the condo. This is an inch plant or a TRADESCANTIA, and this particular variety is called the Nanook. I've also seen it called the tricolor. It's so pretty. I did go ahead and prune it. I replanted the cuttings in the same planter, and that's why it's looking a little bit weird right now while it fills out. Propagation seems to be working well because I do have lots of new growth coming from the cuttings. So this one has been fun to experiment with, and it wasn't that expensive either, and the leaves are absolutely gorgeous. I just love the shades of green and lavender. The underside of the leaves are a beautiful purple color. Here's another TRADESCANTIA. This one is called the Zebrina, and it's a very beautiful plant as well. This one's got darker markings than the other one. There's a lot of like beautiful silver markings. When it's bright and when the sun is shining, you can see a lot of light reflected off the leaves. This is a big one because I bought, again, 2 plants and put them together. It was very inexpensive. I think this entire plant cost about $5 or $6. This is another one that kind of functions like the English ivy in that you get all of these like trailing vines, I guess. I don't know if you would call these vines, I guess so. And it's good to prune the plant to keep it full at the top. So once you prune those off, you can put them into water, and you have these really cute little mini bouquets that you can pop around your home. This plant doesn't need that much light to survive. I mean, to grow and to thrive, it does need light, but these little cuttings can survive quite well in darker parts of the home. So I've been really loving this plant for little sources of mini bouquets. Next up, we've got this fun little plant here, which is a parlor palm. I had my eye on one of these for a very long time, but I have a rule for myself when I go plant shopping is I will only buy 1 plant per visit, or if I buy 2 plants, it's with the intention of combining them into 1 pot. So it took me a while to pick up one of these, but it is so cute and just a beautiful plant. Now, I do have a little bit of worry about this plant as well. I don't know how it's gonna do past the winter time. This plant needs high humidity, and that is sorely lacking in Toronto winters. I'm gonna try to group the plants together and add some pebble trays, and hopefully that will help. but I am worried about this plant. It's also prone to spider mites, so I do mist it regularly, not for the humidity, but to deter the spider mites. And I also wash this plant as well as the English ivy pretty much every time I water them. I wash them, which just basically means I put them in the sink and I run the vegetable sprayer all over the leaves and try to shake out any potential spider mites that might be lurking inside. This is a small parlor palm. It's not that thick in terms of the number of stems, so I can pretty easily see inside and make sure there are no spider mites, but I did find some webbing on this plant one day, so that kind of freaked me out. So now I do wash it every time I water it. This is also a slow growing plant, which I didn't realize when I first purchased it. It's probably not going to look very different a year from now, but hopefully I will still have it a year from now. Hopefully it survives. It wasn't expensive though. I think I paid $3 for this plant. So I mean, it's fine if it doesn't survive, but of course you want all of your plants to survive. This fun little plant looks like a pothos, but it's a philodendron. I love pothos, so I'm happy to just have pothos in my collection, but I got this plant because I was curious as to the differences between pothos and philodendron because they look so similar. This one here is called the Brazil, and I'm so happy now that I got it. It's just such a cute, fun little plant. It grows very quickly as well. There are a few very long vines. This vine is super long. I don't know if you can tell because it started growing downward and then now it's growing upward. So it's kind of like this really neat little U shape. It's just fun to look at this plant and see all the different variegation in the leaves. Lots of new growth on this plant. This here is a SCHEFFLERA. It is also called a dwarf umbrella tree, and I think it's called an octopus tree in some areas as well. This is one of the smaller ones, hence dwarf umbrella tree, and this has no variegation in the leaves. This plant is supposed to grow really quickly, and I had a really exciting new growth come out, but it subsequently turned black and fell off. Since that happened, I have been trying to keep an eye on the other leaves, and it seems to be doing okay. So I think the new growth just wasn't happy with whatever I did, but it wasn't enough to harm the rest of the plant. When I first brought this home, a few of the lower leaves did fall off, and I've read that SCHEFFLERA get a bit of transplant shock, so if you move them around too much, they start to drop leaves, but since then it seems to be doing quite well. So knock on wood again, because this plant is so cute and so beautiful that I will still have it a year from now. If I had to choose one single favorite plant in my collection, it would probably be this one. This here is a ponytail palm, and it is just absolutely stunning. It's so cute and whimsical. Such a pretty plant. I love it so much. It also sounds great. I don't know if you can hear that with the garbage truck in the background, but it's a really nice plant. It's supposed to be very easy to take care of as well. My husband and I picked up this plant on August 8th, which was our 11th wedding anniversary. So this was a little anniversary gift to ourselves, and I've only watered it once since then, and it seems to be doing great. So I love this plant. Here's the last plant I have to show you today. This is, of course, Lucky Bamboo, and I did go ahead and plant this in soil. You often see Lucky Bamboo grown in water, but I read online that soil is actually better for them. They'll last longer and they'll be healthier. So I decided to give it a try, and so far so good. This, I learned as I was reading about this plant, is not actually bamboo at all. It's part of a different family of plants, I believe pronounced Dracaena, and I just found that very interesting. So this is the last plant that I have to show you. Hoping next year I'll be able to do a plant update video and you can see whether all of these plants are still in my collection or if I've added more to my collection. Fingers crossed they will all survive. Thank you so much for watching this video. It was a real indulgence for me. I love my plants and I love talking about them. There are a few other little experiments for plants that I'm trying out right now. I don't know how that's gonna pan out, so I haven't shown those in this video, but I'm basically trying to propagate some plants from leaf cuttings, and I will potentially show you those next year if they turn out. If not, I'm just gonna chalk it off to a failed experiment. Thank you again for watching this video. I'll be back very soon with another one. Until then, please take care and bye for now.